This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this late night show. And we're going to talk about the Knicks point guard quartet. We're going to break down Tom Thibodeau in his interview from earlier today. And then I'll let you go for the night. You know what I mean? So thank you for joining us. I got my man Tony Crow and Uncle Fulio in the building. Yeah, man, let's get it going. I want to jump right in and just talk about the Knicks point guard, group of point guards, right? Because that seems to be our deepest position so far on this basketball team, from Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, and from the first preseason game, Miles McBride has made an appearance and is making people think about those rotation minutes. And with Quentin Grimes and Cam Reddish not being able to play in tomorrow's game, and who knows how long after that, Deuce is going to have a chance to claim some minutes. You know what I'm saying? And if he continues to play basketball defense the way that he did against the Detroit Pistons, you can't help but to think that Tom Thibodeau is going to respect it and say, hey, this guy's earning some minutes out there. You know, we'll start with that, and then I want to get into what Tom Thibodeau thinks about having IQ and Derrick Rose and Miles McBride out there on the floor. But Josh, your thoughts, man, about this quartet? Where do you see Deuce fitting in? Do you see him fitting in? Is it truly a quartet, or is it really Jalen Brunson is the star? You know what I mean? He's the main singer. You got Emmanuel Quickley and Derrick Rose dancing behind him, backing him up, and Deuce is the guy that gets in every once in a while. You call him in every once in a while when Derrick Rose has a sore throat. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts, man?
Well, I think it's the last thing you said. I think Deuce McBride is going to be situational for the season, and that's going to be barring health. I think, when health calls and people go down for a few games, knock on wood, God forbid, then I think you'll see more of Deuce McBride. Thibodeau, has always shown confidence in him, in my opinion. I thought Tibbs, because of his ability to play defense, we knew about his defense coming out of college, press Virginia and all that stuff. He's relentless on that side of the basketball. So I think Tom Thibodeau trusts him. I just think that there is a pecking order, and barring injury, that pecking order will remain the same. I think it's going to be Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, Emmanuel Quickley, and I think Deuce McBride will be situational. That being said, Deuce McBride played extremely well. I'm talking about guarding passing lanes, tight defense, man-to-man defense, the ability to fight over screens. That's what Deuce McBride is going to give you. So we have that chip in our back pocket if we need it. But I think for the bulk of the season, majority of the season, barring injury, that pecking order will remain the same, and Deuce McBride will be situational, in my opinion.
All right, Tony, you agree with that? Or you think Deuce is going to etch out some minutes and maybe give Derrick Rose a little bit of rest?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I think Rose, we got to use him sparingly in the beginning. I know he wants to play and everything, but we gotta monitor that. So I think there's going to be opportunity for him. But Josh is 100% right. There's a pecking order. He's not going to jump Rose. No way.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? But sparing some minutes for Rose here and there. It's going to be interesting how long Cam is out, how long Grimes is out. Is Grimes back? Did they say anything about that?
No, Grimes is still out.
All right. So if they're both out, it's going to be interesting how well he plays with these other guards. You know what I mean? If he gets minutes with that aren't garbage time and
Mm-hmm.
and performs like he did last game, I think he can edge out an opportunity where he could potentially jump Cam or Grimes if Tibbs likes what he sees. Um, but again, the same thing I was saying about Cam, I gotta say about Deuce. You got an opportunity now, and you can't take it for granted because we've seen it in the past. These opportunities is how you make your way into Tibbs' circle.
True. True. Here's the one. I'm gonna say two reasons why I don't think Deuce would jump over Grimes or Cam. Shooting. He hasn't proven to me that he can shoot in the NBA. I know he came in and everybody thought, yeah, he's a guy that can knock it down from three, but he hasn't proven it. Last year, he was 20 something percent from the 3-point line. And I know he didn't get a ton of minutes, but still, he was 20 something percent from the 3-point line. He didn't shoot that well from the field either. Shooting, I think, it's crucial for this basketball team. We know Quentin Grimes can shoot, plus Quentin Grimes is 6'4", 6'5". And then Cam, he can shoot the basketball. He shot, he can shoot it from about 38% from the 3-point line. Plus, he's 6'8", and he can be a little bit more versatile. You know what I mean? So I think it's hard for him to jump over either one of those guys, but he has the time now. You know what I mean? This is where he can prove that, okay, I may not have the size, but I'm going to force you to adjust to me. I'm going to make you say, well, we got to have this guy on the floor because he puts pressure on the offense. He puts pressure on the ball. He puts pressure on those passing lanes. You know what I mean? And that can be crucial for a basketball team. Because if you have your guards afraid to make passes to his side of the floor, almost like when you have a defensive back and the quarterback is afraid to pass to that side of the field. You know what I mean? That literally cuts off a side of the floor. You know what I mean? If you're like, yo, I'm afraid to get it over there because my guy can't get loose. Let me just go to this side. You know what I mean? That can really stall out your offense. So this is his chance. This is really his chance. But I want to listen to Tom Thibodeau. He's going to talk about IQ. The question is about IQ and, what he's seen from IQ so far in the preseason, et cetera, et cetera. And then he's going to go into IQ matched up with Deuce and matched up with Derrick Rose and what he likes about each one of those pairings. Take a listen.
I just like his versatility, all the things that he brings to the team. He can play both guard spots. He can play with the starters. He can play with the bench. He just had, he's a shot maker. He's a playmaker. I thought the ball pressure, I thought the speed with Derrick and him was really good. And then I thought the game changed again when Deuce was in with them, and the ball pressure by those two guys was really, really good. So, and that got us into the open floor as well. So, but the way quickly he's played, he's probably a little bit underrated defensively. Everyone views him for the obvious is the shot making, but he's a pretty good defensive player also.
Okay, you heard him. IQ is a pretty good defensive player. I think he's a decent defensive player. I don't think he's a bad defensive player, and I think he can be better defensively or get better defensively. You just heard what he said about the pairing with Rose and IQ and then McBride and IQ. Tony, I'll start with you. Any thoughts about those pairings out there on the floor?
We're familiar with Rose and IQ, and I obviously like that lineup. I feel like IQ's on ball defense has gotten a lot better, and I think that's what he kind of showed last night, which probably benefited Deuce in the sense that the guy who was throwing the pass was under pressure. So that pass was not saying he wasn't, not taking credit away from Deuce, but it was team defense really.
Mm-hmm.
The ball pressure, making the guy throw the ball cross court, at least 2, maybe 3 times, and Deuce being able to jump that passing lane. So I do like it. We got to see more of it though. We got to see more minutes with them together to really come up with or at least I do. Tibbs probably sees it all the time in practice. So you know what I mean, he's seen it way more than we have. But yeah, I think IQ's defense has improved a lot. I agree with Tibbs. I think it is underrated. I don't think a lot of people even talk about it or consider it. They look at him as a shooter or a checker, depending on who you're talking to. But I like the pairing. I like the pairing.
All right.
I'm Deuce is I'm I wasn't high on Deuce at all, and I'm becoming more and more sold on him. So but we got to see more of it to really give a good opinion.
Yeah, I mean, with Deuce, I think from the beginning of the season, we all knew what he can do defensively. For me, it's
Right.
can he get it done offensively? With everything that you need him to do offensively. If you're talking about him potentially one day being a lead guard, which there were a lot of people talking about that last season. And to me, it was always like he's got to do more, offensively. You know what I mean? He's got to do more offensively to crack that lineup and be considered one of your primary guards. If all he can do is lock you down defensively, unless his defense is so great that, he can lock down the best of them, then he's going to be situational. You know what I mean? Because you got to be able to do something on that side of the ball with this particular basketball team, because we don't have, our offense hasn't been great. I guess we'll see what the offense is going to be like this season coming up. Josh, your thoughts?
Sam, I agree with that 100%. And then let me just preface my comments by saying, listen, it's preseason. I don't want to get too crazy about the whole thing. And we were playing a Detroit team, very inexperienced, very young. They made a ton of mistakes on that side of the basketball. Not saying we did anything, we didn't, impose our will on them, but they were a very young, inexperienced team. You can just tell by the type of basketball they played, the type of turnovers they committed. And we capitalized off those turnovers and off of those mistakes, right? But I agree with you, Sam. I think really this is about Emmanuel Quickley being much more dynamic in either the two-guard role or on the ball as a point guard, and Deuce McBride still having, to make some strides offensively. We already knew what Deuce McBride can do. Coming out of college, we knew that Deuce McBride was going to be tight, man-to-man defender, fighting over screens.
Mm-hmm.
His first start in the NBA last season against Oklahoma City when we had everyone out due to COVID protocols, we've seen that. But the offensive end is what really is what set him back as far as the point guard rotation is concerned. To me, like I said, any combination of Knicks guards, the Knicks are going to play defense, in my opinion. I'm not concerned. I never was concerned about the lack of size with Brunson and then Quickley and everything like that, and Fournier, his lack of defense. The Knicks are going to play defense overall, collectively as a unit. So any pairing that you put out there, I think, will work on the floor for Tom Thibodeau. But like you said, Sam, I think the question is really about Deuce McBride's offense. And once again, that pecking order is there. And I think barring injury, unless someone gets hurt, Derrick Rose, stuff like that, I don't think we'll see much of Deuce McBride. And it's no fault of his own.
No,
it's just the situation that he's in, being a second-year player in the NBA.
Yeah. When I look at the two pairings, IQ and Rose, and then IQ and Deuce, they bring each pairing brings something different. And you heard Tibbs talk about it with IQ and Rose. There's more speed. Obviously, there's more offense. And there's a bigger threat out there on the floor. But when you talk about IQ and Deuce, there's more pressure on the ball because IQ can add some pressure to the basketball. He's good at hitting those passing lanes as well. Deuce, you've seen what he did the other night with 6 steals, can hit those passing lanes. That can be scary for an opposing team, when it comes to being able to move the basketball. When you got 2 guys that can crash those passing lanes and then get out on the break, you know what I mean? That can pose some problems. You know what I mean?
He had 7 steals.
7 steals? Was it 7 steals?
Yeah, because he stole Cam's opportunity.
Yeah, he did. Right, he stole Cam's opportunity because Cam catches all the wrong breaks. You know what I mean? But when I look at IQ and Derrick Rose, I like IQ and Derrick Rose. because I feel like
They got chemistry.
they have chemistry, but Derrick Rose is the one that can settle things down. IQ is going to get into his game and get lost within his game sometimes, right? And you might see 5 possessions in a row where IQ comes up and chucks it up if Derrick Rose isn't out there on the floor. But when Derrick Rose is out there on the floor, I think you're going to see, now hold up, let me get the rock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let's see
Put
what
it
else
down,
we
young
got.
fella.
Okay, we don't have nothing. I'll get it back to you so you can go ahead and get you a bucket. You know what I mean? Or get a shot attempt or whatever you want to say. So I think IQ needs to play with Derrick Rose on the floor. And it's going to help to control IQ. If you look at the third quarter, Derrick Rose didn't play in that third quarter. I think IQ, he got into, he hit a spell where he was just running up the floor shooting. You know what I'm saying? Now I was like, yo, what's going on? But I got to remember, okay, that's IQ. You know what IQ was going to do. And it's because he didn't have that elder statesman out there, in my opinion, to really kind of settle him and things down out there on the floor. So I think he needs to be out there with some elder statesmen, but with an elder statesman that's going to allow him to just play his game, but reel it in when it needs to be done. Go ahead, Tone.
So I wish I would have got my comment out first, but it kind of fits exactly what you just said. I think if IQ is hot, if he's on a hot stretch,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a good time to play him with Deuce. When Deuce is on the phone, IQ can be IQ, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. But I'm referring to him good IQ when he's on fire.
Right.
He can be himself. He doesn't have to necessarily defer. And then to your point, with Rose, he could settle him down instead of IQ creating a shot that may be a more difficult shot. Let D Rose penetrate, run the offense, get you a better shot. Where so when IQ's not going, you might want to have him have him there with or when he's you want to have him there with Rose so Rose could kind of get him some shots sometimes. But when IQ is on that stretch when he's he can't miss, McBride would be nice with him. Another thing that I think a reason why you can see and again when I'm saying minutes, I'm talking about 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Small stretches. But one thing that I do give Deuce credit for is he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't make many mistakes. Now, part of that is probably because he doesn't try to go outside himself and do too much. But that's a reason why I feel like you can spare some minutes on the floor, whether it's for rest, foul trouble, injury, whatever the case. You can put him in because he's not going to be a detriment.
Right.
He doesn't take bad shots either. That 3-point percentage definitely has to improve. That's something that he needs to work on all year long and continue to work on, after games, all that. But his mid-range is solid. Like, it might even be above solid. You know what I mean? Like, the mid-range is another area. So if he stays within himself, he's not going to come down and chuck threes. He's going to shoot those threes that are provided for him. You know what I mean? Off of a double team. So I'm not even with his bad percentage, I'm not too concerned with it because I know he's not going to be shooting 3, 4, 5 threes a game, pull-ups and off the dribble. His threes are going to come like off of other people's motions. So I think there's a small window for him. You know what I mean? And that's why I think this time is precious. You know what I mean? Because he's going to get more of it than he would have if everybody was healthy.
Right.
Can I add that I think I don't see we're talking about the point guard quartet and the combinations and we didn't talk about Brunson a lot. I'm still going to get to that. I don't think we're going to see Brunson and McBride together, but I do think Jalen Brunson is a tremendous mentor for Miles McBride because they have similar mid-range types of games. I think Brunson can definitely help McBride improve on the offensive end, seeing the floor a little bit better, not looking as pedestrian out there on the floor on the offensive end, finding his spots. Like Tony, I agree with you. But another thing that Deuce McBride had come out of college was an impressive mid-range game, something that you really don't see in the NBA too much nowadays. The Knicks really have two guys in their guard rotation that are really good in the mid-range. And I think Deuce McBride can continue to refine that and then have his game kind of expand around that mid-range game and get into his spots on the floor. So I definitely think Brunson can be a mentor for him on this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, obviously we haven't spoke about Brunson much because we kind of know what his role is.
Right.
Right. But might as well talk about him because I would like to talk about him and some other guard pairings besides Evan Fournier or RJ Barrett out there, because I think we will see him at some point in time. Jalen Brunson and Emmanuel Quickley. The same way that I'm talking about Quickley and Rose is kind of the same thing with Jalen Brunson. You know what I'm saying? Quickley needs a guy like that out there on the floor that can settle him down. And I don't want to see Quickley out on the floor without one of those two guys, really, because I know what's going to happen. And the thing is, I want Quickley to be Quickley. I don't want him to have to worry about being the facilitator and this and that. I just want him to be able to play ball, but you need somebody out there. That's an interesting pairing. I can't see that being a starting lineup, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't see it because IQ, he needs to be in a lineup where every fourth possession he can get and dribble the air out the ball. You know what I'm saying? he because he's going to do that. We know that, and I think he needs to be in a lineup where he can do that. He can't really do that with JB and RJ and Randall out there. You know what I mean? He won't get the opportunity to do that. So he needs to be with someone that can help him control that. I don't think you're gonna see Jalen Brunson and Deuce much at all.
Right.
But Jalen Brunson and Derrick Rose, I do think we're gonna see. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to see it in the previous game because Derrick Rose only played about 5 minutes. But it's coming. And I know they've probably worked on that lineup a little bit in practice to see what it looks like, but I'm sure Tom Thibodeau is itching to get that lineup out there on the floor, to get that guard duo out there on the floor at some point in time so we can see what it looks like. I still feel like that's going to be the closing backcourt. Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and either Mitch or Hart, depending on what the Knicks need at the time. And, it could be because Derrick Rose is shooting the three well late in his career. Brunson can shoot the three, so you still get the floor spread from that standpoint. Both guards can attack the rim. Both guards can facilitate if need be.
Get to the free throw line.
Both guards can get to the free throw line. So I think it really does add a dynamic in that fourth quarter that makes it tough to stop the backcourt. So,
and I don't think we see a lineup with Deuce with anyone other than IQ. I think they're the best pairing for Deuce.
For Deuce.
Yeah.
Maybe with Rose if IQ is out for some reason, depending on who else is there, if Grimes and or Cam Reddish is there, you may not see Deuce
or Deuce and Grimes. I wouldn't mind seeing that either.
Yeah,
I see that one. I don't like that one. I mean, outside of the defense, obviously, offensively, I like that one because then. Are you saying that RJ or whoever else is on the floor is going to be the primary ball handler in that type of situation? I guess I can kind of see that. But Deuce McBride, I think, like you said earlier, Tony, he would have to improve his shooting from the outside. If that's the case, I know you got Grimes out there on the floor. I think that would be more of a situational, defensive kind of lineup when we need to get a stop and foul trouble and things of that nature. I think you'll see it in that aspect. Offensively, I'm a little bit concerned, even though. You can have RJ being the primary ball handler or Randall, whoever else, because of Deuce's lack of shooting.
Okay. I mean, RJ, Grimes, and Deuce out there, and then you throw Mitch in it too, that could be a strong defensive unit.
Yeah.
Can they get some buckets? You
Right.
know, I don't know. Still gonna be kind of figuring that out. Tom Thibodeau was asked about getting Derrick Rose some more minutes in the preseason. Because obviously he only played 5 minutes in the last game. This is what Tom Thibodeau had to say.
Oh, that's the challenge. It's like, okay, what's enough? And the thing I love about Deuce is he's in the gym all the time. So I know whenever he's called upon, he'll be ready. And he's an important part of this team.
But you want to get Derrick some more minutes. He hasn't played since December.
Yeah. And the challenge is to get everyone ready, so it's like, and it's not easy to do because, obviously the reduction in preseason games. So, previously you had the luxury of maybe sitting a couple of guys out of a game and, you'd play the guys who had not played, and you play them in one and then play the other guys in the other. You don't have that luxury any longer.
Yeah, and, it's crazy. 4 preseason games, you basically got to start playing season basketball, regular season basketball in the preseason, unless there's a blowout like the Knicks did to Detroit. Now you can play some other people out there. But for the most part, you got to start getting your guys ready. You don't have the luxury of playing around with the lineups that much and see who can do what. You got to figure that out in practice, then get out there and play basketball games. Now, speaking of Grimes, and as we know, Grimes is not going to be playing tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Quentin Grimes is out with a sore left foot. Daquan Jeffries is out due to concussion protocol. Cam Reddish is actually questionable with a sprained left ankle. All right, Jericho Sims is questionable with a sore right groin, and Svi Michalek is questionable with a sore lower back. He had a sore groin the other day. Now he's got a sore lower back. I don't know what's going on. But
Conspiracies.
yeah, right. And Tom did talk about Cam Reddish's injury briefly. Just a short little clip.
Well, the good thing was there wasn't a lot of swelling, so that's a positive.
So he was able to do some stuff.
Yeah, not a lot, but like I said, we're encouraged that there wasn't a lot of swelling.
Yeah. So he asked him, was he able to do a lot? That's what he said, not a lot. But not a lot of swelling is good, right? Because, when you have that ligament sprained, torn, whatever, you get that swelling. So if there's not a lot of swelling, that means he can probably, if it was necessary, he would be able to play in tomorrow's game, and he's going to be questionable. So I would like to see him still out there. I know Cam wants to get out there because
I was gonna say necessary. You mean like for the team or for him?
I mean,
for him it's necessary.
It's necessary for him. Yeah, without a doubt, it's necessary for him. We'll see what happens. I want to know more about Grimes though, and his injury. Because I'm getting the feeling that it's not just precautionary right now. And it may not be getting out to everybody, but it's, a sore left foot, that doesn't mean much to me. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be sore for any reason. It could be sore because it's got a hairline fracture and it's still sore. I just feel like there's more to the story with Quentin Grimes and his foot. And if he doesn't play during the preseason, and then he does get healthy during the regular season, it's going to be some weeks before he's able to get in and play in the regular season.
The head tips now. He's got to do 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5.
Yeah, listen, it's I don't know, but the question has been, and maybe it's quieted now, about Grimes and should he start over Fournier and all of that kind of stuff. And Tom Thibodeau did talk about, what each player brings to not just the starting lineup, but to any lineup and how he would think about using each player in different lineups. This is Tom Thibodeau on Fournier versus Grimes.
And it's a good, what does the team need the most? I mean, like, I think you tend to overlook, like, okay, he was elite shooting the three last year. I think he was 4th in the league in three-pointers made. He was 10th or 9th in transition threes made, and he started slowly. I just think it's a really good weapon to have. It is a different look with Quentin, so I think, but you need everybody, so we'll see how it unfolds. I like, Evan has always, read the game pretty well. Like he knows how to get Mitch involved, and I think that's important for us also.
For me, all of the arguments about Evan Fournier and Quentin Grimes, was nil.
Right. Same here.
Because I just never thought that Quentin Grimes had the upper hand over Evan Fournier. You know what I mean? Because he just doesn't have the same basketball experience. He has not proven that he hasn't proven what he can really do in the NBA yet. So I'm not mad either way about him. He's only in his second year. He hasn't proven anything. There was an argument last night on Dope Soul about Quentin Grimes and Cam Reddish and who's proved more. Right? Stafford Don said, that Cam Reddish hasn't proved anything more than Quentin Grimes. And I'm like, I wasn't in an argument, but I was thinking like, I don't believe that.
Oh, they lucky I missed that one.
I was like, I don't believe that, Stafford. I don't know if Stafford's listening in, but Stafford, come on, man. I don't even want to go back. You guys can go to Dope Soul and check out the conversation there. But Quentin Grimes hasn't proven anything yet. We know he can be good defensively. Offensively, he hasn't proven what he can do in the league. So I never really thought that he was going to start over Evan Fournier.
Sam, I agree with you on that point. I didn't think Quentin Grimes was going to start over Evan Fournier either. I think, this whole anxiety from the fan base comes from the fact that we drafted Quentin Grimes and everyone wants to see him start, right? And everyone's so fed up with Evan Fournier or fed up with anybody that's over 30 years old on the Knicks, as if they are the reason and they are the problem. I think that's where that comes from. As far as the Quentin Grimes versus Cam Reddish argument, I agree. I think Cam Reddish has proven more in the NBA based off what he did in Atlanta, the playoff experience. But to this Knicks team, I think Quentin Grimes has proven more to this specific Knicks team, in this rotation, than Cam Reddish. And I think that's what it really comes down to. I don't think Tibbs and anybody else is looking at what Reddish did in Atlanta like some of the fan base is doing and kind of salivating over that.
Right.
So I do think there is a place in this rotation for Quentin Grimes. And I think Reddish is the one that really has to earn more rotation minutes than Quentin Grimes for this specific Knicks team.
That's true. I agree. Part of it is because Reddish came here halfway through the season.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, he never got a training camp. So Tom Thibodeau never really got a chance to get a feel for who he is as a basketball player outside of regular season games. When people point to Derrick Rose and say, well, Derrick Rose, as soon as he was traded to the Knicks, he came off the plane and played 25 minutes or something like that. But, obviously Tom Thibodeau knows all about Derrick Rose. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there goes Stafford Don. There goes Stafford. But I don't know. I seen Alan Hahn, some other people say that they feel like Quentin Grimes fits with the starting lineup better. I disagree. I really disagree. I feel like Evan Fournier, because of his quick trigger, and I know what people are talking about defensively, but because of his quick trigger, fits with that lineup better. You know what I mean? I feel like Quentin Grimes still has to set up to get a shot off. Quentin Grimes doesn't know exactly what his role is there. You know what I'm saying? Or what he's going to do. There's no chemistry with him and anybody in that lineup, not that I've seen yet. But with Evan Fournier, having played with that group for a year, not JB, but the other three,
Julius,
RJ, Mitch, having played with those guys for a year, he's built some chemistry with those guys and they understand how to find him. I think he understands a little more how to find them. And people might point to, well, he only had 5 points the last game, but that's okay. Because right now it's about JB, RJ, and Julius Randle finding the chemistry. You know what I'm saying? Because Evan Fournier is going to be, you know where his shots are coming for the most part. He's getting the kick out, bang. Every once in a while, he might get something coming off of a screen or slicing to the basket. it's not that hard to get him into the offense, in my opinion, because of where he gets his shots from. But with these three guys, you got to figure out that chemistry. And when you figure out that chemistry, Fournier is going to get more shots, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And then, of course, you got a two-man game that a lot of people don't like with Evan Fournier and Julius Randle. I think it's more that they just don't like the two guys. Because when Julius Randle and Reggie Bullock did it, everybody's like, oh, they got that nice two-man game going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The dribble handoff, the Knicks run that play more than probably any other play they do on offense.
They do.
Dribble handoff. Give the ball to Randle, and then Randle kind of sets the screen and dribbles it to Fournier so he can knock down that wing three. That's one of the main plays the Knicks have in their arsenal. That's why I agree with you, Sam, 100%.
Yeah.
Sam, what if someone's argument is Fournier fit the starting lineup better last year, but with the addition of Brunson, that Grimes fits the starting lineup better?
How? What's the reasoning? I don't
see. To me, the reason why I feel like Fournier still fits it even better is, again, it goes back to that quick trigger. Brunson's going to be able to break down the defense, which we didn't really have a guard that was doing that last year. Which means the defense is going to collapse. You kick it out, and he's going to be able to get it off quicker than I think Grimes can, and I feel like he's proven that he can do it more too.
I think you're right. I'm only playing devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing, but I think because of Brunson's ability to collapse the defense, it lessens the need for the quicker release.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
So Grimes will have more time. Not saying he needs a lot more time anyway, but he'll have more time to, catch and shoot without a defender right there, as opposed to last year. Everything was kind of like a scramble. So we need, we needed that quick release from Fournier a lot. Like, he bailed us out with some of those shots. Whereas, now it might be a little bit easier and cleaner looks going around the board with Brunson on the floor.
Right. I agree. I agree. I think it will be easier and cleaner looks, but I still think that defense is going to be closing out. Because
either way, that only benefits Fournier and more. So Fournier now has more time.
You know what I mean? And the defenses are still going to be closing out, and to me, Quentin Grimes is a guy that's still finding himself and figuring out how he fits in the NBA. How you know what I'm saying? Where Evan Fournier, I think he knows that. He's comfortable with who he is as a player, knows what he's going to do. And I think that's exactly what that starting unit needs. They don't need another guy that is trying to figure out what to do. You know what I mean? So he can be content with, I'm going to just chill here until my time comes. I know everybody points to the defensive issues between Fournier and Brunson. I think Brunson maybe proved that we don't even have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I think he did fine defensively, even with a taller Cade Cunningham guarding Cade. I think he did fine defensively, and I don't think we're going to have to worry about it. And now Evan Fournier, there's going to be some times when people penetrate to the basket. But you know what I saw last night is that guys like Randle and Mitch and RJ were aware. And that came from the chemistry of playing with them. They were aware, and they were ready to be in help side defense. Obviously, it's got to continue for the entire season. But I think you don't break up that chemistry. You know what I mean? I mean, how many games did Grimes play last year?
37?
I think it was 30-something. Yeah,
30-something games?
I believe.
Yeah, and most of them weren't with the starting unit. So, I think you got to let that chemistry grow between Evan Fournier and the starters. You know what I mean? And see where it goes from there. If you need to do something different, then you do something different. Tibbs was asked about Evan Fournier getting off to a slow start, and we know Fournier talked about him trying to focus on the defensive side and get to know his teammates. He got off slow shooting. Tibbs agreed with it somewhat, but also attributed it to some other things. Take a listen.
I just think it's, like anytime you're coming to a team, you're trying to learn a new system, you're learning your teammates. There's a lot going on. So, and they have to learn you as well. And so I thought as the season went along, he got more and more comfortable. And I also think his teammates were searching him out more. You realize, okay, and he's only going to be open for a split second. So you have to have an awareness of how to get him the ball. And I think once we figured that part out, he was very effective for us.
And that right there is what I'm saying, Tony. He's only going to be open for a split second. So you got to be able to get him the ball. You got to be able to get him the ball in the pocket, and then he's got to be able to let that thing go. And I think he understands that probably better than Grimes right now. You know what I mean?
Sam, can I highlight one of these comments? East Blue Drew says, when the shots are not going in, what else can Evan contribute? Well, Evan Fournier is durable, first of all. I think he was the most durable player on the Knicks last season, right? And Grimes, in the limited amount of time that he got, he couldn't stay on the floor. I know, you can't really blame the type of injuries on the specific player, but Evan Fournier is durable. And even if he's not making the shots, the threat of him being in those spots on the floor is what evens out equilibrium, keeps the defense honest. Right. So it's not all about just hitting shots. It's about being where you need to be on the floor and being a threat out there on the floor. So you open up lanes for your Randalls, your RJs, and now Brunson.
Exactly. That is exactly what I was going to say.
Forget all that. If he's not making shots, Tibbs puts him on the bench. We've seen it.
Right. And that's another thing. He didn't even play that much in the fourth quarter. Grimes played more fourth quarter minutes than Evan Fournier last season.
Yeah, I mean, but still, I still kind of agree though. If he's not making shots, his ability, the threat of him out there, makes defenses say, "Oh, we got to make sure we're on point," because he can get hot, and he can knock down shots. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to a caller real quick. All right, caller, you're live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please. My man, you there? All right, I guess we'll get back. We'll get back to the caller. He also mentioned that later on in the season, his teammates began to recognize where he wanted the ball, where he was going to be, where he wanted the ball. You know what I'm saying? And that helped him to get his shot off, become more comfortable getting his shot off. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's exactly right. It wasn't just about, him getting comfortable with the defense and this, that, and the third. I think a lot had to do with just the chemistry. You know what I mean? And becoming comfortable with how you fit within the group.
And some stability of the roster or the point guard position.
I mean, even though it was Alec Burks, right?
but it was stability.
But
you
it was
know what
stability.
I mean? Like once Alex Burks got that role, we knew it was his role. You know what I mean? As much as whether we liked it or not, it was stability. You know what I mean? So now you only got one person to get comfortable with at that spot, as opposed to it might be this guy this night. It might be this guy this night. This guy might not be here for 10 days. So.
Yeah.
G. Robinson says Evan played 4 full seasons out of 11. What does that mean? Because he didn't play 82 games in the season and didn't play a full season. He's played a lot of games. He's definitely played over 60 majority of his career.
Well, now I think we looked it up the other day. He has been pretty injury prone as far as his career, but last year he played the most games on the team.
I mean, who plays 82 games? Who plays 82 games nowadays in the NBA? Like, come on.
Yeah, he's just basing it off the stability comment. He's been stable for us. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been injured for us. I like that's a fact. I thought he was
no, but he specifically mentioned playing full seasons. Like, who plays 82? Like, not many players. LeBron James only done that once in his entire career. I'm saying he's known as one of the most durable players ever. Right, so I just don't understand that comment, playing like full seasons. No one really does that in the NBA anymore. Load management and all that stuff.
Yeah, nobody's gonna play. Yeah, nobody, hardly anyone is gonna play the entire 82 games. You know what I mean? That's tough to happen this year, or not this year, but nowadays it's tough for that to happen nowadays. Along the lines of guys just getting more comfortable with each other, Tom Thibodeau talked about the offensive balance. He was asked about the balance on the offensive side of the floor. JB RJ, Julius. I mean, the scoring was balanced. RJ led the team in scoring with 21, I believe it was. Julius had 15. Jalen Brunson had 16. He was asked about balance. That's what he said.
I think the big thing is to let the game tell you what to do. Like, so if if you have it going and you got a good matchup, and they'll your teammates are going to search you out. But if you're getting double teamed, don't fight it. That's the responsibility you have as a primary scorer, is to make plays for your team. So you want to make winning plays for your team. Can you bring the best out of your teammates? Can we play off you? And so I think that's, it's easier for a team to lock into one guy, particularly, like if you're fighting a double team all the time. And to me, whether, you're penetrating into the paint, forcing the defense to collapse and then making a rim read, or if you're getting two onto the ball, which you want, whether it's a blitz of a pick and roll or a double team of a post up, you play off that, you're going to get high percentage shots. And to understand what's the value of the type of shots we're taking, that's a big part of winning, and knowing when to shoot and when to pass.
Josh, let me ask you this. Do you think the balance that we've seen versus the Pistons, is this what you can come to expect with this group? How many ebbs and flows do you think we're gonna have?
I would sure hope so, Sim. Listen, the game on Tuesday, everything looked well. I think this was as close to where we want it to be as possible. This is what I would like to see: a balanced offense. Everyone getting their assists, everyone getting their points, efficiency, fast break points. This is what I want to see from this Knicks team. I just question, and I've always questioned, whether the Knicks can keep this up and sustain it throughout the season, for the majority of the chunk of the season. It looks like all nice in preseason right now. The same thing happened last year. It looked all nice and fine and pretty in preseason. And then come regular season, first 5 games, it kind of transitioned over. And then for the bulk of the season, it just wasn't there. So I sure hope so. This is the type of offense that I've been praying that this Knicks team has. And if they can play with this type of offense, then I think, teams better look out and watch out. But that's yet to be seen.
Yeah. So, Tom said the game is going to tell you what to do. The game is going to tell you what to do. Tony, does this group have the basketball IQ to allow the game to tell them what to do? Those 3.
Brunson does, and that's all that matters. He's going to change the whole game. He's going to change. Listen, when you have a true point guard who puts you in a position that all you have to do is finish, that's all you got to do is finish. There's no decision. There's no, should I go left? Should I bounce the ball? All you do is finish. That's a difference maker. And the fact that the ball is going to be in his hands in clutch moments and crunch time, that doesn't mean RJ doesn't get to finish or get that shot. That doesn't mean Randall doesn't get to take that shot. That just means Brunson gets to dictate who takes that shot. That makes a world of difference, especially for a guy like Randall, especially for a guy like RJ. So yeah, I think it makes it work. I think yes, but because we have Brunson here, he's been what we've been missing for how many years?
So I agree with you. I think Brunson, but the reason why I'm shaking my head is that you said having Brunson as the only person with that basketball IQ is the only thing that matters. That part I don't agree with. I think RJ and Randall need to both improve their basketball IQ along with Brunson. That's what's going to make an effective offense. Because if you take Brunson out the game and you basically take the ball out of his hands, then what? Right? Teams can plan for the Knicks that way. Right? And then you have a situation where Julius Randle's going to be the one dribbling the basketball again and making decisions. Right? So Randle absolutely needs to improve his basketball IQ. It's not just about Brunson. Having Brunson helps. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you from that standpoint. But it needs to be a collective effort on the floor. All 5 guys have to have IQ. And I'm not talking about LeBron James IQ, everyone having the same thing, but they all have to be in sync because that's what basketball is. Everyone being in sync, not just
but I'm not saying they have IQ. It's just not to that level. Can it raise? Yes, but him being on the floor is going to make their decisions easier. So it,
That's
it,
true.
it takes less IQ to actually finish because he's developing the plays for you. Like again, all you have to do now is one or two things: shoot, pass, or dribble. There's no think. You know what I mean? It
I think
minimizes
it's
the
way
thought.
more complicated than that, Tony.
But I
It's
think
way
there's
more
going to
I'm
complicated.
be,
telling you, it minimizes the thought, especially for a guy like Randall.
it does. It minimizes some of the thought that they need to have. But then they've also got to have those moments where they know, all right, he dribbled here, so I got to go here. You know what I mean? Like I see Randall do this all the time. He'll kick it out to Fournier or whoever, and then run like right
to him.
next to the person instead
Right.
of sliding down to the corner, staying down in the post. And I'm like, why are you coming right next to where that person is now going to take a shot or create or whatever? Why are you bringing your defender close? You know what I'm saying? It kills me when he does that. And to me, it's just bad spacing and just not thinking and knowing like, okay, he did this. I mean, I pass it out here. He's open for the 3-point line. So I'm going to stay under the basket. Maybe I get the post up. Maybe I get the rebound. You know what I mean? Instead, he's floating out next to the dude. That junk kills
To
me.
me, a lot
maybe
of times he did that trying to get the ball back.
Yeah, or that's what I'm saying. Create a mismatch, maybe get a switch or something like that. I think that's pretty much why he does that. But Sim, I agree with your point. Again, it can't just be Brunson. Because you can take Brunson out the game defensively. You can just plan to take the ball out of Brunson's hands, and then what are the Knicks going to do? You know what I mean? So it has to be collective. It has to be collective between all of them. I do agree that having Brunson out there helps. It makes the game easier for Randall, but he still has to be able to make the right play, right? And that's what Tom Thibodeau's talking about. Read the game. The defense is going to tell you what to do. The basketball is going to tell you what to do. And
Yeah.
Randall needs to step his game
It
up in
should.
that
I mean,
aspect.
it should. It does tell you what to do. Guys just got to know how to do it. You got to know
Right.
when to cut, where to cut, why you're cutting. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to know. You got to know those things. I'm just hoping that we have a smart enough team to do that with the addition of Brunson, because I think he, being out there and as the point guard that I believe will be vocal. And Alfred Payton wasn't really vocal, I don't think. AB, he wasn't
ain't
a
saying
point
nothing.
guard. You know what I'm saying? Kemba Walker is not really that kind of a point guard. So I think with Jalen Brunson, as the season goes on, it can be like, listen, when I drive here, I need you to go there. Right? If I drive right, I need you to go there. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to the lane and your man pinches on me, I need you to stay out to the 3-point line so I can kick it to you. All of those, those things. And I think
Yeah,
being vocal and being the guy that's really running the show, he can now be able to say, this is what I need you to do so that we can make things easier. And I think that's going to help overall. Go ahead, Tony. You was getting ready to say something.
I think you kind of summed up what I was gonna say. Basically, I think these guys, they may not have the highest like LeBron James IQ.
Right.
Let me speak about Randall in particular. He doesn't have LeBron James IQ, but he was in the role of LeBron James, right? On the team. So that stuff is gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Now he's not gonna be in those positions. I'm not gonna say ever, but not as often. So he can go off the level of IQ that he has because it's gonna be less decisions for him to make the majority of the time. Even getting the ball out of Brunson's hands, for the team to do that, how are they getting the ball out of his hands? Most likely by a double team, which means
Trap.
a trap, but which means he's leading off that play. Whoever he gives the ball to. Now, do we think we have like let's just super bonehead like no basketball IQ guys on this team?
No, Tony.
So
I only responded that way because you said having Brunson is the only thing that matters. I think for an offense, a team offense, and for the Knicks to improve offensively overall, having Brunson helps. But all five guys on the court, particularly your primary ball handlers, have to have some really good IQ in order for the offense to gel. It can't just be about Brunson. Like this is not a Peyton Manning and type of situation. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, but what I'm acknowledging, these guys have IQ already. So it's there. It's just going to be easier decisions. I don't want to equate Jalen Brunson to Chris Paul, but look at when Chris Paul is inserted to any team. his basketball IQ elevates the team,
Devin
regardless of
Booker already had basketball IQ before Chris Paul got there.
any
But
team,
adding him,
any team that Chris Paul goes to. That's what I'm saying. Any team,
Gets better.
it
It's no lie.
changes.
No lie. It gets
so
better. It gets better.
That's all I'm saying.
no, I agree with you. And I think Brunson will make us better. But I'm talking about collectively as a unit, you have to have all your primary ball handlers having a semblance of high IQ. It can't just be about Brunson. All of them have to have that basketball IQ. Devin Booker had basketball IQ before Chris Paul got there, right? They were scoring points. It's not like they weren't scoring points. Adding Chris Paul took them to the next level, right? The Knicks have an offensive problem without a point guard. They have an offensive problem. Why? Because your primary ball handler did not have IQ. That was the problem. So I do think Brunson will help us, right? But I also think Julius Randle still needs to step his game up. We're probably saying the same thing, but It is what it is.
Let me see if I can get to this caller now. Caller, you're live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please. I don't know what's going on. This is the same caller. I don't know what's going on. Caller, you good, man? You calling from space? Yeah, let me take that one off. Caller is calling from space, and I couldn't understand him. I don't know, maybe it's ET or something.
Jeff Bezos.
Huh? Yeah.
I was gonna say Jeffrey Dahmer, but no.
Oh boy.
I mean, if anything, it was the Silence of the Lambs, dude.
It's something. We'll see if they call back.
Hannibal
Maybe it's a little bit better. Tibbs also spoke about the bench. This is what he had to say. Take a listen.
I agree. I think there's not a big drop off, and you can make a case that those guys are starters as well, so, but the challenge is to get everyone playing. We need our starters to play well. We need our bench to play well. So it's not like one particular group or it's not one particular guy versus another. It's the entire team. Like, how do we function well together? And that's the challenge. The challenge that we all have is to bring the best out in each other. So, a big part of winning is playing to your strengths and covering up your weaknesses. And I think the speed of the second unit, that's one of their strengths. And then you have multiple pick and roll players, and then adding a guy like Isaiah, that gives you a different look. You can open up the basket, you can get to more of a cutting game. And I think Mitch has played well with those guys as well. So we'll mix and match with those guys, and then we'll see where it goes.
All right. First question. Tom Thibodeau said you can make the case that those guys are starters as well. He didn't say some. He just said those guys. Tony, I'll start with you. Can you make the case that those guys are starters too, or can be starters?
Some of them. I don't want to even bring up the sore topic of Hartenstein because people think I'm switching up on Mitch. But I think he could fit into that role if need be. I'm not calling for it. I'm not asking for it. Mitch is still my guy. He's worth the $15 million, Josh. But you can make a case for Hartenstein. Let me think. You can obviously make a case for Rose.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not for one to make the case for Grimes. I'm not gonna even go into my case for Cam because he got to get healthy before I can start talking about him again. But yeah, I think there's a few guys on the bench that you can make a case that they could start. That they could be started.
Legitimate starters in the league. Not just starting because, all right, well, we don't have anybody else, so they're gonna start, but like legitimate starters in the league. I mean, Derrick Rose, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for his injury history.
For this team, but if you're saying the league, then it's probably just Rose. It's probably just Rose. Yeah. If you're talking about league wide,
right?
You
because
could put him on another roster, and he's probably just make a case to start.
Yeah, because to me, when you say starter, I think league wide. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna have, if you're saying your bench unit is that strong, then it has to be league wide that you're saying these guys could be starters. And it doesn't mean that they would be a starter on every team, but you could put these guys on a team and they would be a starter, on some team in the league. You know what I mean? I mean, league wide, I guess there would be a case somewhere that Obi would start. I think. Obviously, Derrick Rose, if Derrick Rose was a guy who could remain healthy, would be a starter in this league still, in my opinion. Emmanuel Quickly. And I know for our team, Emmanuel Quickly is ahead of Obi, right? But because there's so many guards in the league, is there a place in the league where you would see Emmanuel Quickly being a starting guard?
I mean, there's a couple OKC.
Okay.
No, I'm not even gonna go there. I'm gonna pick a team that has 2 stars on it already. Boston, Philadelphia. Look what Tyrese Maxey did playing with that team, right? Where he doesn't have to be the focal point of offense. I think Quickly couldn't start in the OKC. That's not what I'm saying that he can't do that, but I think for his type of game, he fits better with a team that has someone who's going to be a primary dominant type of ball handler who the offense is going to run through, and he can play off of that person, right? And then kind of do his thing because all the attention is not going to be. So that's the type of place I see Emmanuel Quickly.
You know what's messed up? You gotta take it all with a grain of salt too, because look at our starters that went to other teams and where they are on the pecking order.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. Who we talk about? I mean, obviously Kemba, but Kemba ended up not starting for this team. I mean, you know what happened, the fiasco last year. And Alec Burks.
I mean, we don't know where he's gonna fit, if he's gonna start or be on the bench, but I don't think he's gonna start on that team.
No. And Alec Burks really didn't begin as a starter.
True.
You know, he was kind of an all-purpose guy.
I mean, but even all these guys here, it's what Tibbs is saying. You know, whether they started or not, he felt like you can make a case that they're starters in this league, from Noel to Burks to Kemba. You know what I mean? All these guys had an opportunity to start. You know what I mean? So it's funny.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you look at our bench now, I mean, legitimately, 1 or 2 guys, I think legitimately could start in the league. And the only reason why I say Obi is because, the power forward position, I'm not saying it's bad and there's not great power forwards in this league, or really good power forwards in this league, but somewhere in this league he probably would start at power forward for some team somewhere. I think. I don't know. I can't think of who right now, but maybe. I guess I'd have to go down and look at rosters, but I think
the Knicks if Randall was gone.
Yeah, the Knicks if Randall was gone. I mean, somewhere maybe.
But I think Thibodeau's comments really comes from the standpoint that the Knicks are a deep team, and I think they're versatile. Right, he can mix. He has the ability to kind of mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some possessions put Hartenstein out there, or put whomever out there. We were talking earlier about the guards, the point guards, and that rotation. I think that's one of the strengths of this team, is that you can be able to mix and match lineups. If guys go down, knock on wood, God forbid, there's other guys to step in and play adequate roles. You maybe not put the same production up, but definitely put up adequate roles. They kind of know their spots, and I think that's going to be a strength of this Knicks team.
Yeah. Do the Knicks have the deepest bench in the league?
The Clippers.
I say top 5.
Top 5?
I say top 5.
Golden State. So yeah, probably top 5, something like that.
Okay, all right. I mean, that's a really, really good thing in the league, though, to have a very powerful bench unit. You know what I mean? Because if you have a bench unit that Tom Thibodeau, argues, like he says, arguably some of the guys could be starters in the league. That means you assume that you have starters playing against bench players, against most teams. Obviously not all teams, because we just named some teams that have really good benches. And that could really benefit you if you feel like you got starters playing against bench players when your bench comes into the game.
So, Sam, are you saying that it matters who starts and who doesn't?
Am I saying that it matters who starts and who doesn't? No, I'm not saying it matters.
Okay, he's asking.
I'm not saying it matters. It matters who finishes the game. Because I've seen plenty of times where a lesser player is starting and the better player comes off the bench. I mean, that happens.
Just asking. Just
You know what I
asking.
mean?
I didn't like the tone of the question.
I mean, he's trying to. I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to call me out or something. You can call me out.
Nah, go ahead.
You know what I mean? You can call me out. I mean, Alfred Payton wasn't our best point guard.
Absolutely not.
He started because he fit with that lineup. It happens like that sometimes, especially when you're not deep. You know what I mean? If you're not deep, you may say, you know what? Because especially like those first 5 minutes of the game, sometimes you're kind of feeling the other team out. So you can get away with having, a player that's not as good in that lineup because, the teams are kind of feeling each other out. And then you come with your better player off the bench. All matters what happens in that fourth quarter, man. That's why I think Derrick Rose is going to be out there in the fourth quarter. He ain't a starter, but we can finish games as long as he's healthy. Tibbs talked about Mitch, right? There's been a lot of conversation about Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitch Robinson, blase, blah. Tom Thibodeau on Mitchell Robinson.
Well, I think the athleticism is special, but I also think like the strength component, when he added that piece to it, like he's, he can take a hit and get through that, and he's shown that. And, but I think a lot of other areas of his game have improved also. The rim protection, that part is obvious, but I think he's starting to grow now offensively.
Start with Josh.
No, I think because I think he's really good in dribble handoffs. I like that. I like the pressure he puts on the rim, like the offensive rebounding, what that brings to us. But I think also his ability to run the floor. I think last year the conditioning piece was an issue because he couldn't do anything. He really didn't. He didn't do anything all summer, but he didn't do anything in the fall, and he really couldn't practice until we started playing. And that's a lot. So you're behind the eight ball there. And, the second half of the season, he got his legs under him and, obviously did a lot better.
So what they asked Tibbs in that second question was if him doing things offensively will take away from the other parts of his game, like offensive rebounding, blocking shots, et cetera, et cetera. And Mitch actually answered this question too. And he was like, nah, I don't think it's going to take away from everything because basically, I'll seal my man off down low. If I get the ball, I'll do something with it. If I don't get the basketball, I'm going to go on and do something else. And when someone puts up a shot, I'm trying to get the offensive rebound. I don't think it takes away from his game at all. We did see Jalen Brunson find Mitch on a nice seal. Now, he got hit with 3 seconds, but it was a nice seal. And he actually executed a little drop step and went up. Mitch is, if you go listen to Mitch's interview, he's talking a lot of stuff. He's talking about, I need to get myself a crossover so I can come here. I mean, man. Mitch is a funny dude. But I would love to see his offensive game really develop. And I don't mind it starting from just him catching the ball, sealing off his guy, catching the ball under the basket, and having a few go up to the hoop. You know what I mean? You can start right there. You don't need nothing else. Start with that right now. Just get comfortable with getting some touches on the offensive side of the floor. Can JB, Josh, I start with you. Right? Tony said to start with you. I'll start with you. First of all, can JB get Mitch more involved in the offense? I start with there, right there.
Yes. And I know I'm on record, and I know why Tony wanted to come to me because I think he's referencing something I said last season. I felt like Mitchell Robinson last year was a problem for this offense, particularly because they weren't shooting the basketball well, particularly from the outside. And they didn't really have anybody that can really penetrate as much as I would like them to do so, right? And when you have that combination, you're not knocking down shots. Having a center that can't leave the paint is detrimental. But conversely, if you have someone who can penetrate the basketball and the Knicks are knocking down shots from the outside, everything's all fine and dandy. My only concern, and I do think, to answer your question, Sam, I do think Jalen Brunson can get Mitchell Robinson involved more because of his ability to penetrate, his ability to use his body underneath the basket and around the basket, be crafty enough. He's a very small guy, but he's able to use his body and finish well, right? And I think that ability has defenses nervous, and they can be able to get Mitchell Robinson involved from that standpoint, right? But I think the key is when the Knicks go through these stretches, when they're not making shots, right? If they didn't have a person like Jalen Brunson out there on the floor and Derrick Rose, who also was a big key contributor penetrating the basketball, it's going to be tough for this team to score. But with him out there, I think that the offense can definitely improve and get better. And having Mitchell Robinson is not as much as a liability. So I definitely think that Jalen Brunson can get Mitchell Robinson involved in the offense more and, get him some easy buckets.
All right. Tony?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think Brunson's, I said it earlier, I think he's gonna make the world of difference for everybody who's on the floor with him. Especially Mitch. I would like some other people to also have that ability. We've seen it with RJ. Obviously, I think you noted it, and Tibbs said it in the interview. Fournier probably was the guy that got Mitch the ball the most last year. So I like to see it a little bit more from Randall. It seemed like Randall tried, but a lot of times it ended up getting stripped or stolen away. It just wasn't. They were too close together. That's one of. I'm not too concerned with that with Brunson just because his footwork. So he might start on the right side and end up on the left, and now he got two guys trying to, come to him. I think he'll have a lot of drop off passes and those things. Mitch posting up, sealing out, and those kind of looks. I don't know how many lobs we'll see from Brunson in particular with Mitch.
Right.
Unless we see more pick and roll.
Yeah. We didn't see much pick and roll in the first game. There was pick and pops a little bit, even though, Mitch isn't the guy that's going to pop, maybe some from Randall. We didn't see much, but I think that's going to come as the offense expands. Mitch and, Randall going to Mitch, I don't think you're going to see that much because there's two guys that don't really have a good concept of spacing. So, I think in the zone, maybe Randall found Mitch a few times. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see much more than that, though, because those guys, they don't space well.
Funny thing is, those were some good looks, too.
Yeah.
Out the zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Randall missing a couple through no fault of his own. But when he penetrated and tried to give it to Mitch, it never seemed to work out. It always seemed to be a turnover.
Yeah. My man AD just called and I missed it. AD, call back, please. I want to hear from him. You know what I mean? He asked the question. He said, the Knicks having deep anything is hilarious. And then he said, hey, new season, I'm sure your team will try. Now it's your team. So it's our team now. It's no longer your team, Anthony. Is that what you're saying? AD is no longer your team? Like, what's going on with that? All of a sudden, you're not a Knicks fan? Is that what you're trying to say to us, bro?
I know what happened. KD rescinded his trade request.
And he says, Sim, why are your comrades smiling so much? We're smiling because we feel good from that first preseason victory over Detroit. We know there's a long season to go. You know what I mean? But if you got to start some way, that's how you want to start. You know what I mean?
And I'm always smiling, AD. I'm always smiling.
Now, let me see. Let's see. We
Happy
got
to be
AD.
alive.
I think we got AD on the line. AD,
Sim.
are you there?
Hello?
You there? There you go. What's going on with you, bro?
Sam!
What's going on, man? How you feeling? Are you still a Knicks fan? That's what I want to know.
I saw the hurt in your face, man. I had to call it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounded like you gave up your Knicks fandom or something.
Let me say salute to Knick Nation. I know it's hard, pause. Tony Crow, Uncle Foolish, still the smartest fool out there. I haven't you don't. You know what I'm saying? You don't walk away from a marriage just like that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't have the same enthusiasm coming into the season the way I normally would. So I say I'm just watching.
Okay.
I'm a fan of basketball. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. You know, I'm cross podcast as the Debbie Downer. Oh, AD, you gotta let him. Let's see. Let's watch. Obi's gonna miraculously get more minutes. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah. So, but I like what I saw of Brunson the other night. The ball was moving. So, you know, let's see. Maybe they can catch a couple of team sleeps.
AD, is this team better than last year's team? Is this roster better than last year's roster?
That's yet to be seen. Because the biggest pitfall on the team from last year is still here. So whether he meshes well better a year under his belt with Fournier, better with Brunson, because that's where everybody's focusing on. How is he going to work with Brunson? So that's yet to be seen.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what everybody's focused on, but
you don't think everybody's focusing on how is Brunson going to keep that ball at the point and to eliminate his high post offense that starts above the three. You know, he jogs the ball up. You don't think people watching that? Really?
How did Randall play last game?
Come on. Randall was not good last year. His numbers did not tell a true story. That's why I tell people when they quote this nonsense from rappers, this lied, that's lied, numbers don't lie. Numbers lie. Let me help you out. Numbers lie.
This first preseason game, how Randall played? This first preseason game.
I thought everybody played well. But it's preseason. Everybody's at 0-0. I thought everybody played all right.
Okay.
I thought Hawkinson shot some nice threes. He shot more threes. He shot more threes in one game than Mitch has shot in his entire career. Let me point something out. Now, since I heard Mitch's name and stuff like that, I want to point something out to Knicks fans. Do you realize you have invested $60 million in a player that doesn't really have a lot of basketball experience? You understand?
Mm-hmm.
The first time that a team that he was associated with got to the playoffs, he wasn't there. No high school championships, college. How long was he there for? Registration?
Most of his basketball experience with the Knicks.
Exactly. And his first year, could he stay on the court? How many games did he foul out? Did he lead the league in fouling out? Second year, Drummond, he was Drummond's personal whipping boy. Every time Cleveland came into town, he went to the team and cleaned up. Third year, put on some weight. Okay. All right. Still, he hasn't played a lot of meaningful basketball, but we've invested $60 million into that man.
His contract is also descending, right? It's descending, right?
I believe so.
Right. So by the time he has played some meaningful basketball, you'll be paying him $12 million, $12 million a year.
The question is, will he ascend as the contract is descending?
I think he will. I think he will. You know,
his contract is not bad. It's not a bad contract.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad contract, but how does he get that? You're basically paying him on what you think he can become.
Right.
People with no winning pedigree, where do you get that from? it just pops up into practice some way, somehow.
I
He
mean,
never won anything on no level.
I mean, but sometimes you can take a guy, or sometimes you have to, you recognize a talent, and you say, okay, we're going to try to put some winning pedigree around this guy.
Brunson.
Now, who outside of RJ and Brunson? Now, and Knicks fans, please, Sim asked me a question, so in turn I'm asking him back a question. Where's the winning pedigree that you're putting around Mitch to get the best out of Mitch?
I mean, you mentioned RJ and Brunson. What about Derrick Rose? He doesn't have a winning pedigree.
All right.
Emmanuel
18-year veteran.
Quickly's come from a winning organization. Coming from Kentucky.
I'm just being facetious today.
Oh, okay. I mean,
who's to say the Knicks won't put that around him moving forward in the future either?
No, I'm still hurt, gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? I'm still hurt.
You're hurt.
So
bitter.
Let me take a couple of jabs while I can before the season starts, and I have to really pay attention.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you, AD. I appreciate you, man.
Tim, one quickie. I saw that man suit up in a Cleveland Cavalier uniform the other night, and I'm telling you, fam.
I'm trying not to think about it. If the
remote control was close to my hands, man, I would have snapped it in 50 pieces, yo. Anyway, Knicks family, Uncle Foolish.
I appreciate you, brother. I'm trying not to think about the whole Donovan Mitchell and Cleveland thing. I'm trying not to think about it at all.
Who?
Yeah, I don't know who. Who's that guy that's in Cleveland? I don't know.
Oh, stop it, y'all. Stop it.
I'm not mad at Donovan Mitchell. Just saying, I'm trying to keep that. I'm trying to push that to the side and focus on this basketball team here. Shout out to Trav B. Ryan. Thank you for the super chat. He mentioned the second unit. When we were talking about the second unit, he said the second unit with Grimes, thumbs up, as defense to that fast offense would take teams completely out of the game. Then they got to deal with Brunson with a Brunson-led offense after. I agree. He does add some defense to that, some defense and some ruggedness to that second unit. You know what I mean? We'll see if he's going to be healthy enough to be out there on the floor. Him and Grimes. You know what I mean? Before we get out of here, though, because it is almost 1 o'clock in the morning, and I want to get some rest. And we're going to do a game preview tomorrow, but what are you looking forward to seeing from the Knicks tomorrow?
Well, I know I'm gonna miss the first quarter, maybe the first half. So I'm just looking forward to the second half, and hopefully, I don't miss all the good stuff. So, yeah, I'm gonna be at work, so I'll probably have a couple sneak peeks at some highlights. So, most important thing to me right now is a win, and then I could backtrack and really enjoy the game when I watch the replay.
Well, but anything from the last game, though, that you didn't see that you want to see, like when you do watch replay, that you just want to see from the team itself?
I want to see that starting unit come out kind of the same way, Brunson led. I like how RJ let the game come to him, and he didn't force or put or rush anything, and he ended up leading us in scoring. I think that's going to be the trend of the season. I think RJ is going to end up leading us in scoring this year.
Okay.
And more of the same, honestly, because it really wasn't much to complain about that game. So efficiency around the board. You know what I want to see? I want to see us get to the free throw line. I don't know how many we shot, but I don't recall us going a lot. So I want to see us get to the line. I need that to be a strength of ours this year. Not just the percentage, but attempts. So I want to see RJ get to the line. I want to see Randall get to the line. I think this is a better test for us. You know what I mean? A better measuring stick. So I'm definitely looking forward to the heightened competition, the more experienced competition.
Okay. All right. Josh?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I think Indiana is much more experienced. Even though that team is going to be broken apart before the season's over, I think they're going to go for all out for Victor Wembanyama. But that's a different topic.
It's going to be a lot of teams to probably do that.
Yeah. I think Indiana is definitely more experienced. They do have Tyrese Halliburton. I'm excited to see that matchup in the backcourt. Hopefully, all of Indiana's players are healthy, so we can really get an opportunity to see this Knicks team versus that caliber team. I just want to see them kind of continue the same things they were doing, fighting passing lanes, getting the passing lanes, forcing turnovers, creating points off of turnovers. Also, swinging the basketball around, getting shots early up in the shot clock, that increased pace that we talk about. And also, I want to see how Mitch is going to be able to defend Miles Turner. That was one of his biggest struggles, since he's been in the NBA, being able to defend the three or being able to step out and guard centers who can be able to knock down that outside shot. So I'm going to see Mitchell Robinson be able to defend that. Other than that, like I said, the Knicks played kind of a near, almost perfect game against Detroit. I think this one is going to be a little bit tougher. I want to see them try to continue and do some of the same things they did last game.
Yeah, I would like to see this game be close. I really would. See it be a close game. I want to see how Jalen Brunson reacts. We know how he's going to react to a close game. So let me not say Jalen Brunson. How Brunson and Randall and RJ react together in a close game. I want to see how that goes down. Like who naturally steps up to the top of the pecking order in that type of situation.
If it's close, you think you think Indiana starters are going to be out, and in turn, do you think if Indiana starters aren't in the game, do you think Tibbs still plays our starters?
I don't know. I if it were me, I would, because I would want them to get that experience together. You know what I mean? The experience of being in a close game,
especially before preseason games.
Yeah. I'd want that's valuable experience to me. Let me get a caller real quick. Caller, you're live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please.
Hello?
Yes, you're live. You're on the air. What's going on with you?
Hi, good night. This is Peter from Belize. It's been a while.
Peter,
I think I was calling on the old number, and that's why I wasn't getting through.
Okay. Hey, I'm glad you got through. What's going on, man?
Everything is good. Definitely pumped for another season with the cheering for our New York Knicks from the Caribbean, of course. This place is really riddled with Lakers and Warriors fans, and but we're definitely some of the lone Warriors here, right? In terms of rocking our blue and orange and repping the Empire State. But basically, definitely pumped up about Brunson. I was thinking about this lineup, about closing, because I think we are making a big deal about starting, because our starting five is pretty good. I think it's probably top 16, top 20 in the league. But our bench is definitely top 3 to top 5 in the league, and I think that's gonna be the deciding factor whether we're top 6, top 8, or definitely a playing team. But at worst case scenario, I think that will be a playing team. We haven't had a pure point guard since forever. And I've been watching the Knicks for 25, 30 years, right? So it's definitely been a while. But when it comes to a closing five, I'm thinking about Brunson, Grimes, RJ, Obi, and Hartenstein. And the reason why, RJ gets a lot of heat for, his field goal percentage. I think it was around 41%, more or less, right? But the reason is that when I turn on this show, you guys were talking about spacing, and I think it's a spacing problem with Randall that's clogging the paint. Mitch that definitely clogs the paint. So he's definitely not in a in the best position sometimes to get those easy buckets and get those easy looks, right? So sometimes your own teammate may take away from your effectiveness, right? Now, when you have a guy like Hartenstein, he just jacked up 2 3-pointers in the preseason game. You have Obi that can play around the basket at a higher efficiency than Randall, but he's definitely willing to stay outside and create the space and shoot 3-pointers as well. Then I'm going to see the guys that will be cutting to the basket will be Barrett and Brunson, and I think that would be an effective closing five moving down the line. Especially like we want to see more of a sample size if Hartenstein can hit free throws late in the game, right? So all of these things I believe is going to not only get us more wins, but I think that it's going to take a physical toll on every team that plays us, because they are going to have to play their starters longer than they want to, because our bench is so effective. So I just think it all comes down to coaching on how you mix and match the team moving forward, and I think we're definitely going to be quite fine.
Okay.
So.
And,
I hear. Yeah.
I can hear what you're saying about Hartenstein, and I think that's going to be situational, right? Depending on what the Knicks need, whether it's Mitch or Hartenstein closing games. I understand what you're saying about Obi, but I think there's problems defensively. He doesn't shoot the three better than Randall. He shot like 30% from the 3-point line last year. So he's not really shooting it better than Randall, in my opinion. And then he can't draw a defense. He doesn't, you're not, if you get a ball to Obi in the post or any place else on the floor, teams aren't coming to double team. And I think that's going to be an important aspect when you come down the stretch. You're going to need somebody, you need another player out there that can draw a double team. And I just don't think Obi can do that or is ready to do that.
So you think it's intentional that what Randall is doing, that he slows it down, he dribbles, maybe takes a little bit more dribbles than what we're used to seeing, what the game is evolving into, because we're used to seeing, quicker cuts, quicker passes and like that. So you think it's something intentional that Randall puts the ball on the floor waiting, because everybody knows that Randall is one of the strongest power forwards in the game, and he can basically manhandle most of guys that he's facing. So is it more intentional that he's playing that post game, waiting for the double team to just kick it out?
Yeah,
and would
absolutely.
that be effective?
I think last year it was definitely intentional, because that was the strongest aspect of our offense, right? That was what the Knicks had. This year, I think it's going to be different. You'll see it in spurts. You'll see it, from time to time and in different situations. I don't think you're going to see it all the time. But when you get down into that crunch time area, I think I'm not going to say you're going to see it all the time, because Jalen Brunson is going to basically run the show. But he's going to give you another guy that if you need to throw him in the mid post or the low post to create a double team, it can happen. It adds another aspect to the offense. And I just don't think you get that with Obi.
And the game slows down too. The game slows down towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter. So it is intentional, the isolation and drawing a double team.
Yeah, it really does slow down. And I just don't know if I don't know if Obi is suited to that type of a game yet. We'll see if he gets there. That's just my, that's just what I'm thinking about, why Randall would be out there to close the game.
The reason why it's not that we're trying to dismiss Randall, and I'm not here trying to disrespect or throw any kind of hate or aspersions against Randall. It's that we're looking towards what the other offenses in the NBA are doing. They're doing more 5 out, not really clogging up the paint, not really doing that ISO. They're going more where the ball is moving and it's touching 5. It is going into the hands of the 5 players, and you try to see who could get that cut or get the defense slipping, and he can get those easy cuts to the basket. That's what the game is evolving to. What we're doing is more of that old school ISO type of game where it's like basically you're putting the ball in Kobe's hands and, you know, telling him basically go if you get the one-on-one, take the shot or go to the basket. If not, if the double team comes, kick it out and you get the shot. You know, but then what that does now is it's taking away the effectiveness of what RJ and what Brunson can basically do to a certain extent. And then if it doesn't work, then everybody's gonna just put the blame on Randall. So is his game going to need to change to what the rest of the league is doing so the heat can come off of him? Or is he just gonna ride or die his style of play, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, then he probably just gets run out of town?
I think last year, in the last few years, you know, what you've seen Randall do was out of necessity. And I think this year we have a different team with Jalen Brunson be here. I think it changes the entire dynamic of that offense, and we've seen some of it in the first preseason game, and I think you're going to see that throughout the season. Now, in the fourth quarter, even all of these other teams that are, like you said, they are playing, you know, with more ball movement, man movement, and not that slow down game. But if you get into the fourth quarter, that last 5 minutes in the game, it starts to slow down because defenses get tighter. They're not grabbing, they're holding, they're jamming you up when you're cutting. And they give the ball to your LeBrons or your Kawhis or, you know, guys like that, you know, for them to, you know, go get a bucket. I'm not saying that Julius Randle is those guys because the ball is going to be in Jalen Brunson's hands, and it may be that the floor is spread out and say, hey, Brunson, go get you a bucket. It may be that, but in the same aspect, it's still the same thing. Is Julius Randle's not having the ball on the post, but now you're spreading it out so that Jalen Brunson can go get you a bucket. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept. It's just done in a different manner. You know what I mean? But I when you get in those times, you got to have a guy that, in my opinion, can draw a double team and can put pressure on the defense, man, because I just don't see that Obi is putting pressure on the defense in his ability to create a shot right now. Obi's going to get the ball on the run, you know, catch oops. You know, that's what I'm seeing right now. We haven't seen that he can just catch the ball, turn and face, and go strong to the basket, get fouled and go to the line, or get a shot. You know Randall can do those things. We don't want it to be the entire game that is just throw the ball to Randall and he goes. But when we need it, we want to be able to utilize it.
The thing is, for me, Obi and Hartenstein on the floor is to improve the shot selection or the percentage of RJ, because the hate on RJ is that he's not efficient. I feel that it's the players around him that's not space creators is what the real problem. You know,
well,
I just saw something on the RJ contracting.
I get it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I get it. I get it. And you do need some space so that RJ can get lanes, but I think Julius shoots well enough. He's not great, but he shoots it well enough to where teams can respect that. And then if you really feel like you need that space in, say, this specific game, you need that space for RJ, you bring in Hart for Mitch. And I think that changes a lot right there, because now you can put 4 guys around the perimeter and let RJ or Brunson or whoever go to the basket. You know, but
and I would just add, let's see Hartenstein and Obi play against the bench, the second units, and see how it works first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
See how it works. See what they do. Yeah, but
our bench is going to dominate.
Yeah, I mean, we should have a strong bench. I'm excited to see what this bench can do. But Pete, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for the call. And, you know, because we're about to head off in just a couple of minutes, man. So I appreciate you.
All right, bro.
All right. Have a good one.
From our you guys need to come and I'll visit, man.
Oh, we would love to. We need to take an MBK trip out there. Yeah, no doubt. We need to do that.
Like 2-3 years away.
we need to do that. You know what I mean?
That one.
We need to do that. But
Live from Belize.
Mr. No Fud said Julius draws the double teams for 3 years. He finally gets guys who can space for him, and now he's in the way. or now he's in the way, ask the question. Makes sense to Mr. Fudd. Doesn't really make sense to Mr. Fudd. But, we got to see what this offense does. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to see right now Obi Toppin really getting minutes down the stretch. He hasn't had much experience in the NBA playing down the stretch. I feel like the game would get it gets way more physical down the stretch. And I don't know, I'm not sure if Obi is ready for it. I just don't know if he's ready for it. He'll get a chance. He'll get a couple of chances, I think. Not in lieu of Randall, but if Randall seems to be durable, but if Randall, goes down or something like that, then I guess Obi he'll get the call. And if he doesn't get the call in that situation, and then you'll know what Tom Thibodeau thinks. If he doesn't get the call. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to head up out of here. Any last thoughts before we go, Josh?
Yeah, go Knicks. Just continue to do what you're doing. And please, if you continue to do well this preseason, please make it translate over into the regular season when the games matter. Don't just give me this now and then in the regular season do something totally different. So just keep doing what you're doing, and then let's get into the regular season.
Yeah, no doubt. Tony?
I just appreciate you, man. I hope I make the stream tomorrow night. I gotta, if I get to watch 50% of the game, I'll be on the first game.
All right.
If it's less than 50, I got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I gotta
lucked
go back
out.
and watch it.
Yeah, I lucked out because normally I have practice on Fridays, but practice has to be canceled because they got like family fun night or something like that going on at the school. So I lucked out a little bit this week.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you, man. Shout out to the chat, Josh. Always a pleasure. Your Black is Time.
I appreciate both of you guys for joining me, callers, everybody watching. I appreciate you. Please make sure you hit that like button or subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed. Catch me tomorrow at 3:30 in the pregame show or the game preview, so we can break down rosters and all that good stuff. And I'll see you then, ladies and gentlemen. I'm out.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.